Hey everyone, in this video we are going to review the most dangerous game before your test tomorrow. As you all know, the most dangerous game was written by Richard Connell, and it is about our protagonist Rainsford, who was on his way to a hunting trip in Rio de Janeiro with his hunting partner Whitney. After talking about hunting with Whitney, Rainsford went to the edge of the boat and was looking out at the sea when he heard gunshots. As he was trying to figure out what or where the gunshots came from, he fell overboard and he swam ashore onto a mysterious island. Once he got to the island, he went inland trying to find shelter, food, anything like that, and came upon a mansion. When he went to the mansion, Ivan, which is General Zaroff's assistant, basically, answered the door, and then Rainsford was welcomed in by General Zaroff. General Zaroff fought in the war. He was a Cossack and he was from Russia. So he was basically like a Russian diplomat who was also a soldier. Um, After fighting in the war, he continued to pursue his interest in hunting, but found out quickly that he got very bored with the sport, which is what he was telling Rainsford as they were talking over dinner. Rainsford eventually found out that General Zaroff bought the island and moved there so that he could start his own new game of hunting. The difference between the normal sport of hunting and Zaroff's sport of hunting is that General Zaroff hunts humans. General Zaroff first invites Rainsford to participate in the game by hunting humans with him, but when Rainsford refuses to do that, Zaroff decides to hunt Rainsford. Rainsford has 3 days to survive the hunt or to kill Zaroff first and win the game. If Rainsford manages to either win the game or to survive 3 days, he will get passage off the island, or that is what General Zaroff says. Throughout the story, we see how how Rainsford um, develops as he goes from one opinion to hunting to another, and we see character development in Rainsford and Zaroff, and we discover themes throughout the story. So let's review the questions. What do the sailors feel when they pass Ship Trap Island? How does this set the tone for the story? At the beginning, when they are passing Ship Trap Island, Whitney tells Rainsford how there's an ominous feeling to the place, and how the island has created a reputation and people are very fearful of it. This sets the tone of fear and suspense. The sailors have heard stories of ships crashing against rocks, and there is an ominous feeling surrounding the island. Who is the protagonist in the most dangerous game? The protagonist is Rainsford, so he's one of the main characters and he's the good guy. He overcomes a conflict. How does Rainsford end up on the island? Rainsford is on the deck of a ship going on a hunting trip. While he was smoking a pipe, he heard a gunshot in the distance. He let his curiosity get the best of him and tried to balance himself on the rail to better see or hear what was happening. While on the rail, he dropped his pipe and lunged for it, falling into the water. He then washed ashore on Ship Trap Island. What is the main type of conflict within the short story and who is it between? So the main conflict is external conflict. So it happens with a character and an outside force. This specific type of external conflict is character versus character between General Zaroff and Rainsford. Here we have a quote. Be a realist. The world is made up of two classes, the hunters and the huntees. Luckily, you and I are the hunters. Richard Connell on page 2 of our short story. This quote at the beginning of the story comes from Rainsford. How is this a form of foreshadowing? So foreshadowing gives readers a hint about what will happen later on in the story. Rainsford's discussion with Whitney shows his attitude towards hunting. The world is made up of two classes of people, and you are either strong and the hunter, or you're weak and an animal to be hunted. And this goes with the theme of survival of the fittest. Only the strongest and the smartest survive. This theme and this quote foreshadows what's going to happen in the game later on between Zaroff and Rainsford, because Rainsford ends up becoming the animal and becoming the hunted. So Rainsford is forced into this game and into this idea of survival of the fittest to see who will win, who will come out the strongest, who will come out the hunter or the huntee. Based on this quote and the conversation found on pages 1 and 2 between Whitney and Rainsford, how does Rainsford's view of hunting and Whitney's view of hunting differ? Rainsford's view of hunting is that it is natural for him to hunt because, as the strongest species, it is his right to hunt the lesser species of animals. So, Rainsford believes that because he is the strongest and the smartest, he has every right to participate in the sport. Rainsford also doesn't recognize that something like an animal could have the feeling of fear. So for him, this is a sport. There's no feelings involved with this. Because Rainsford doesn't believe that a lesser species could have fear or feel pain. Whitney, however, acknowledges that anyone or anything that is being hunted would naturally feel fear and resent being hunted. So their difference of opinions is that Whitney has empathy towards anything that is being chased or being hunted, and he recognizes that that animal or whatever is being hunted would feel fear, whereas Rainsford doesn't acknowledge that something like an animal could comprehend what fear is. What details in the physical description of Zaroff foreshadow the truth about its nature? So, when we meet Zaroff, we have not learned about the game that he has created. All we know when we first meet him is that he is described as being tall, having a bizarre look about him, black eyes, a black mustache, white hair, and having red lips and pointed teeth. If you were to create an image of this person in your head, the red lips, the black eyes, and the pointed teeth would foreshadow and create an image of someone who is not to be bothered and who could be the bad guy, so the antagonist. Zaroff is described as being someone who is scary and someone who you wouldn't want to go up against. Why does General Zaroff quit hunting big game animals? What about the hunt no longer fascinated him? Check pages 8 and 9. General Zaroff believed there was no real danger in hunting anymore, and he craved danger and competition. So every time he went to go hunt the next biggest and dangerous animal, he did so easily. So after each time he conquered that animal and that part of the sport, he grew more and more bored and wanted to find something that would challenge him more. So it was no longer a sport for him because he won every time against every animal. He believed animals only had instincts, which is no match against reason and wit. What is Rainsford's reaction to General Zaroff when he mentions his new invention of an animal for hunting? Rainsford believes that Zaroff is crazy and that what he is doing is murder, not a game. So Rainsford cannot empathize with Zaroff at all over there needing to be a better competition. Rainsford only views it as murder. What shared event did Rainsford and Zaroff experience that made Zaroff believe that Rainsford would agree with his new way of hunting? They both fought in the war. Naturally, one could assume from the text that fighting in the war helped Zaroff come to this new invention of a hunting game. He was desensitized from having to kill during a war. So, experiencing the loss of life during a war made it easier for Zaroff to come to the point where he decided to hunt humans. And Zaroff couldn't believe that since Rainsford fought in the war, that he would view Zaroff's game as murder, because in his mind it's really no different than what was happening during war. What are the two successes that Rainsford experiences during the game? Rainsford was able to kill the dogs and kill Ivan with hunting traps. Who is the antagonist in the most dangerous game? The antagonist is General Zaroff. How do men end up on the island according to General Zaroff? In what way has he created a trap? So the island is called Ship Trap Island. So Sometimes men end up on the island due to natural circumstances, such as a storm that pushes the yacht, the boat, the ship inland, and so then they have a crash. But Zaroff often lures men onto the island by using a light to indicate that there is a channel for ships to travel through when there actually isn't. So the ships end up crashing against the rocks when they try to travel through that non existent channel. And those who survive the crash end up on the island and end up being hunted. What is General Zaroff's argument for hunting men? Men have the ability to express courage, cunning, and reasoning, making them a more challenging game to hunt. Zaroff believes life is meant for the strong and to be lived by the strong, so in his mind, it is only natural for him to hunt and eliminate those weaker than him. Again, you're getting to the theme of survival of the fittest. Zaroff believes that for someone to be successful and to really be the best version of themselves, they should go up against a challenge. So Zaroff is creating challenges to allow for the smartest and strongest person to win the game and the person with the most courage. So for him, this isn't murder. For him, this is natural selection. This is survival of the fittest. For him, this is the natural way of things. In General Zaroff's opinion, what makes the hunt fair? Those he hunts are well fed, they get exercise so they are not weak, and even attend a training school. When it is time for them to participate in the hunt, they are given food provisions and are given a hunting knife. They are also given a 3 hours head start. Why does General Zaroff think Rainsford will think the game is worth playing? What about Rainsford's background makes him a match for Zaroff? So Zaroff thinks that Rainsford will find the game worth playing because Rainsford is a world-renowned hunter, making this game an equal match. So in Zaroff's mind, he has finally found someone whose expertise in hunting should match his own, and someone who has also fought in a war, who is of the same economic class. So Zaroff has basically met his match, and he believes that Rainsford's experience, his reasoning, and his intelligence will make him an exciting game or someone exciting to hunt with. Although General Zaroff believes the hunt is fair, is the game actually fair? Think about who he hunts and what he gives them. No, the game isn't actually fair. Most of the men who end up on the island are sailors with little experience as hunters. And if someone was only a sailor during this time period, due to their economic circumstances, they probably did not have the same educational opportunities as Zaroff. So even though Zaroff believes that the game is fair, it isn't. One, because the people that he's going against are not as intelligent as him due to financial circumstances and social circumstances. Also, the people that he hunts are only given a knife. Zaroff has pistols, knives, and hunting dogs, and Ivan, if he chooses to use Ivan. So the odds against the men are stacked. What does Rainsford have to do, according to General Zaroff's rules, to win the game? He has to survive 3 days of the game or to kill Zaroff in the game. What does Rainsford do at the end of the story that implies that he won the game? At the end of the story, we know that Rainsford appears in Zaroff's bedroom. And they close the story, or Connell closes the story saying Rainsford sleeps in Zaroff's bed, which indicates that Rainsford has won the game. Rainsford could only have won the game by overpowering Zaroff, which implies that he killed him. In your opinion, what happens to Zaroff at the end of the story? Do you think Rainsford changes his mind about hunting by the end of the story? Explain your answer. Rainsford overpowers Zaroff, ultimately killing him somehow, either by a hunting knife or throwing him to the dogs. After Rainsford has ended up being the prey, so being the hunted, one would assume that Rainsford's view of hunting would change and that he would no longer want to participate in the sport. This is a review of the short story. Use this to help you prepare for your test on Friday, which will be a Google form. There will be 25 questions total, 20 about the story, and 5 vocabulary terms, which you have an answer key to in the Thursdays folder on Classroom. So use this to study and good luck on your test.